You know, people tell me that they want to develop this ability to audiate, and I want them to be able to experience that. And it's not a very difficult skill to develop. It's one of those things that it just takes time. So I think what I'm going to do today is talk about that, talk about the process, talk about some of the experiences you can have, and try and give you some encouragement so that you know that it is possible and that this is something that you just have to spend some time on and you will develop the ability to. So the thing with audiation, for those of you that don't know, it's this inner hearing. It's this ability to hear music internally without having any sort of external sound, which sounds like something pretty simple. But if you've ever tried to listen to sort of a major third, or any interval for that matter, let's just try something. Have a single tone going in your mind. Just go ahead and do that. Try and hear it as clearly as possible. On any instrument, probably the instrument you play would be a good one to start with. Just get it going and keep holding it. Now, try and hear an interval above that. Any interval that you know. Perfect fifth, major third, major second. Pick an interval that you're pretty comfortable with. And if you're not comfortable with any interval, just try and hear another note above it. So how difficult is that? Go ahead and try that for a moment. Okay, were you able to hear it? Could you hear the two notes distinctly? Now, hold those two notes out if you're able to, and try and hear a third note on top of it. Okay, were you able to hear that? So, if you can hear three tones, then you're actually pretty advanced because a lot of people can't. A lot of people can hear that single drone and then they have trouble hearing another tone on top of it. So one of the things you can do if you fall into that category is hear a single tone and then try and hear a rhythm against it, like bum, 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 bum. Just something simple. Rhythms tend to be easier to hear than harmonic tones at first. And once you can hear a rhythm against a harmonic tone, then go back and try and hear that harmonic tone with another interval on top of it. And try not to play it on the piano first. Try not to hear it from any external source. And this will kind of gauge your current level of audiation. If you can hear one tone with a rhythm, two tones, or three tones simultaneously. That lets you know where you're starting from. And from there, what you want to do is you want to start moving these tones around. So you have the drone, and whatever interval you have, let's say you start in a third, try and go up to a fourth, and then come back down to a third. Try and hear these. But the thing about audiation that's kind of funny is we all hear it internally, but then the way we can actually improve it is through external sound sources. So you go to a piano and you play two notes and you try and hear the bottom note and the top note in the actual interval, the external sound you're hearing. And then from there, you try and audiate the sound of the lower note and audiate the sound of the upper note. It's a distinction because in one instance, you're hearing the bottom note and the top note from the external sound. It is an external source. You're just focusing in and you're listening to those two pitches. In the other instance with audiation, what you're doing is you're taking it inside. And you need both. When you both hear something externally and then hear something internally, that's when you get some pretty powerful development because you're taking it inside. The next step, which you can actually do this before the audiation if you want, you sing the bottom note and you sing the top note. So the idea here is the order in this instance doesn't matter too much as long as you are trying to hear that interval in as many different ways as possible. And if you do that, then you'll gradually develop this ability to audiate. So there's a lot of other things we can do. We start very simply, we start below your current level. So if you can hear a single drone, that's kind of the base level. That's what you focus on. You focus on that for a long time. You try and hold that tone out. You make it louder. You make it softer. You turn it into a rhythm. You turn it into various rhythms. You improvise on that single tone and you hold it for as long as your attention will allow. And then after a week or two of that, then maybe you add on a second harmonic tone. If you can't do that, go to the rhythm first, and you play around with that single tone, keeping it steady, and then you hear that rhythm beneath it. Once you can do the tone and the rhythm, you can go on to the next step. And you do that for maybe like 2 weeks even. And you play around with it, you try and make the rhythms more complex. So the next step would be to add 2 tones. Once you can do that, do 2 tones in a rhythm. Once you get to do 2 tones in a rhythm and spend several weeks on this stuff, you do 3 tones, and then 3 tones in a rhythm. And then this is where, if you just do these exercises alone, it's going to start to develop your audiation skill. But this is where you almost need somebody else to guide you at this point. And I would recommend you work on these skills, work on them, go as far as you can. Then try and take a score, like a simple 4-part harmony. Maybe even a Bach chorale. Those are a little complex, but maybe get a book of hymns. Those are going to be a little simpler. And try and audiate the top line. And then play the bottom line on the piano while you're audiating, if you can. Or enter into a notation program so you can hear the bottom line and audiate the top line in addition to it. And then you try and hear the top line and the next note below it. And so you gradually layer this until you can hear all 4 parts. And we're skipping some steps here. But if you don't have somebody to kind of guide you through it, this is the next best thing. You just want to slowly go, and you can figure this out on your own. You just want to slowly go and gradually increase the difficulty and continually increase the difficulty. And again, you can do this on your own. So the key here, though, is going to be, in order to audiate and know what you're hearing, that's where the frustration comes in. I have a student that I actually worked with for a couple years. I still work with this student. And this student can hear things, but has no idea how to notate them. The student's getting better, much better. In fact, the latest piece the student wrote was really quite substantial. And it just reaffirmed that I was right about this student, is that they were hearing things internally, but they didn't know how to notate what they were hearing. So that can happen. You can develop the audiation faster than your ear training ability. So what I suggest, if you're going to go your own on this, you can even do simple ear training drills. Start with a perfect fifth. Go to a piano, play a C. Sing a perfect fifth above and below. Then audiate above and below. Then go up by step in a major scale. If you don't know how to do a major scale, you can go chromatically. So you go to C sharp. Perfect fifth above, below. Audiate above, below. And go up the entire scale. Once you can do this with 100% accurately on a major scale, then go ahead and do it random. Pick any note, major scale or chromatic scale, it doesn't really matter. I prefer the major scales at first because it limits some things and it keeps it fresh. If you do the chromatic scale, then what happens is you're constantly working on the same notes every day. If you do a major scale, you can change keys and things like that. So that's why I prefer major scales at first. But once you can hear them consecutively, then randomize it. So you're in C major, you play an A. You think down a perfect fifth, you sing it, then you audiate it, and then you sing above a perfect fifth. So you reverse the order every now and then. You don't always just go up and then down. You don't always go from C to D to E to F. You go from C to A to G to B. You move around the scale. And you always sing a perfect fifth. Now this will require you to know the perfect fifth, because if you play an F and you go a perfect fifth below the F, then you're going to sing a tritone. So you have to be aware of your intervals. But if you actually just go ascending, once you get to that 7th scale degree, B, and in any key it's going to be the 7th scale degree, if you're doing it in a major, then you're going to end up creating a tritone there. So if you really don't know, and that's a little bit too advanced theory-wise for you, then just go white key to black key and always sing 7 half steps. So you find the C, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, bum, bum, and you sing the perfect fifth. And you can check yourself on the piano. So you can do that until you've mastered the perfect fifth this way, where you can play any note on the piano, you can sing a perfect fifth above and below without any mistakes. And you can do that for, let's say, 2 minutes, where you're just randomly playing notes and you don't make any mistakes. Just set a timer. Once you can do it for 2, I really suggest going to 5. I mean, it's a little bit tiring, but 5 minutes isn't that long of an exercise. And just sing above and below. And then move on to the perfect fourth, then the major third, then the minor third, and master one interval at a time. And once you've mastered an interval, let's say you've mastered the perfect fifth, then what you do is you go back, you go on to the perfect fourth, but you spend 2 minutes just singing perfect fifths again. So now your time ends up increasing a little bit as you learn more intervals, but you never end up spending more than about 15 minutes, and you can work out the timing to make sure that you don't spend too much time on this. Because once you've learned an interval, you don't want to just move on to the next one. So once I've learned the perfect fifth, I don't go on to the fourth and forget about the fifth. I keep practicing the fifth. I keep making it stronger in my head. And you just keep going. And then once you can do that, you're at a point where you can start trying to sing chords. Major chords, minor chords, dominant 7, augmented chords, diminished. You can do all the chords. If you were to ask for an order, I'd recommend major, then minor, then augmented, then diminished. I do it very differently in the course. Because in my course, it's much more structured, the Flawless Ear Training course. We actually are learning chords based on the intervals we're learning. So for example, you'll learn major chords first because we're dealing with the perfect fifth at first, and the perfect fourth to some extent, and then you'll learn inversions of major chords, because an inversion of a major chord has a fourth either in the bottom part or the top part. So we go on to inversions, where if you do this on your own, you have to kind of think what chords have the fourth in them, what chords have the fifth in them, what chords have a major third, minor third, and you have to sort of isolate those parts of the chords. So you can kind of develop your own routine. But the point is to just constantly stretch your ears and continue to improve and go about it every day. The biggest thing that kills progress is frustration, or you feel like you're not seeing results, so you quit. The ear takes time. You know, every exercise you do, every day that you show up, every day that you train, you're doing something internally that maybe you don't understand externally. Maybe it's not showing yet, but every day you train, you're getting just a little bit better. If you overtrain, you can get worse. If you overtrain, you start making mistakes, the brain gets tired, the brain shuts down, you end up going through the motions and you're not doing any real training. That's why I say no more than 45 minutes a day, up to an hour if you're a little more advanced, but you can oversaturate and you can do too much. So the trick here is to come in, spend at least 20 minutes a day. You want to get up to that. Maybe you start with 2, then you go to 3, then 5. You work up to your 20 minutes a day. And then as you start adding more exercises, you can go up to 45. But you don't ever need more than 45 minutes of ear training, because your training comes when you practice. Your training comes when you listen to music. You know, that's where you put whatever ear training you did that day into practice. And you just take the long approach to it. You say, look, I want to have a good ear. I'm going to commit the time. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how fast I develop. I have my own unique set of skills, and I may not develop as quickly as a person next to me, but I can still get better every day, and you just see how far you can go. You know, if you watch too many other people on YouTube demonstrating their perfect skills, which are probably modified in some way, in a lot of cases anyway, or amplified. There's a lot of ways to make it seem like you have a really great ear. That's why I really don't do any ear training exercises here, because it's like, it's just kind of showing off, you know. But if you just come in every day, you ignore what everyone else is doing, and you just focus on yourself. You just try and make yourself better each week, each day you show up. That's how you get better. And if you want a guided course, if you go to my website, you'll see a lot of courses. Ignore all that. Where I suggest everybody starts is Flawless Ear Training. That is the course, because that is foundational. I don't care how advanced you are. I've had people who have told me they've been doing ear training for 30 years and they can't believe that this has helped them. I've had multiple music professors tell me that they teach ear training and they were shocked that some of my exercises stumped them, you know? So it doesn't matter what level you're at. I benefit from my own courses. Occasionally, I will take a course. Like if I'm driving across the country, like I did recently, that's why I'm in Washington now, I'll listen to ear training. I didn't do it this time very much because I ended up, I was driving with both my wife and my child and I didn't want to subject them to that. But even then we did a little bit of it. And when I recently drove to the nearest city, because you can tell I'm kind of out here now, I'm in the middle of nowhere really, it was about a 1.5 hour drive to the closest city, and I listened to ear training drills, you know? So my own ear training drills and other ear training drills, you know? So I'm always trying to see if there's something I can improve as well. It never stops. And in 20 years, I'm gonna have a better ear than I have today, you know? And the thing is, like, you know, we always say perfect pitch, that's something we want, but perfect pitch is not the most important thing. In fact, perfect pitch is it's not as fun in some ways. It takes the relativeness out of the music. You tend to hear tones as tones, like a C is a C. It doesn't matter if it's an octave higher or lower. Some people with perfect pitch can't actually even tell if something's going up or down. And I've talked about this before, but never know who's watching. It could be a first time. So I'll just tell you very quickly, one of the things I had to deal with in the university and had to help students overcome was people with perfect pitch. They come in and say, how can you tell the difference between like a major third and a minor sixth? And at first I was like, what are you talking about? They're very different. And it's like, you have to listen for the lower note. Like, well, I can't hear which note's lower. And I'm like, okay. So we do some drills on that. And then I discover, oh wait, no, this person knows the exact pitches I'm playing on the piano. They have perfect pitch. But they're confused because they don't know which pitch is lower, because this is somebody that has a type of perfect pitch where there is no high or low. It's just C. It's just E. And so they'll hear all the tones, but they won't be able to order them from bottom to top. And so, I mean, even if you have perfect pitch, there's things you have to work on. You know, it's never that your ear is fixed and perfect. And that's part of the fun of being a musician, is it's a lifelong skill. You're constantly developing. There's constantly something new for you to uncover about yourself, about what you can perceive internally as well as externally. I hear people that say, I'm too old to do ear training. That's not true. You can develop a really powerful inner ear, and it doesn't matter if what you're hearing on the outside is somewhat subdued, if you're missing some of the higher frequencies, if you're not hearing the overtones. As long as you still have the ability to hear somewhat, you can continue to develop internally. And if you get to a point where you have a pretty strong internal ear, then you can continue to just build that internal ear, even if you lose your hearing. That's what happened with Beethoven. Beethoven was losing his hearing. We believe he was aware of it. And he took steps to preserve that inner ear and to develop it. And that's why he was still able to write music well into his last days, really. So there's always something more to learn. And if you say, I need to be able to have perfect pitch by March 4th, 2026, or whatever, you set a deadline, then you're setting yourself up for failure. But if you say, I want to come in each day and practice, and I want to just have subtle improvements each day, then over a year, those become huge improvements. Over 2 years, massive improvements. 5 years, you won't recognize yourself, but you have to have the consistency and dedication to do that. So I encourage you to keep doing your ear training, and let me know if there's anything I can help you with. I'm here to answer questions, and you know, I love hearing about your experiences too. I mean, if there's a method that really worked for you, let me know about it. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future video or something like that. But just keep practicing, keep pushing forward. Frustration, let it come, appreciate it. Just be like, great, I'm frustrated. That means this is hard, you know? Frustration means something's hard. That's good. It means you're challenging yourself. Just keep going. Work through the frustration. Get your minimum of, I would say, 20 minutes done per day and move on. I mean, that's why my Flawless course, the audio version is 20 minutes. The video ones are longer, but the audio one is 20 minutes because I know people are busy and I know you can make progress with 20 minutes a day. So create your own program, take mine, find somebody else's, find something that works for you, find something you enjoy, and just do it. And don't expect perfection, because the ear is never perfect, but we can get really close.